Hi, I'm Angela Horn here at Tucson Doulas, and today I wanted to take a minute and talk to you about those final weeks of pregnancy. For a lot of people, those last weeks can feel like they drag on forever, and many people will experience these bouts of contractions that they think, oh, this is labor, and then it stops, and it's not, and then they're frustrated. And oftentimes they may feel like their body is somehow broken or it's not working properly. So, the goal of this video today is to talk a little bit about what's happening during this time and to really offer some reassurance that yes, your body is doing it and it can do it. There's a great blog post that goes along with this video, and I will link it below this video for you so that you can access it later. So, when we think about contractions that may happen before labor starts, we think about cervical change, dilation, and effacement. And so when a client comes to us and they say, I'm so frustrated, I'm having bouts of contractions every night, and I go to the doctor and nothing's changed. When they do an exam, there's been no change, and I'm frustrated about this. One of the first things we like to remind them is that there are actually 4 ways to measure cervical change. Dilation and effacement are the first 2. The opening of the cervix is dilation, the thinning of the cervix is effacement. But there's also 2 other ways that the cervix change that a lot of people either don't know about or they forget about. One of them is the position of the cervix. So the cervix in pregnancy typically tilts towards the back. So when a provider is, say, doing a vaginal exam and you sort of feel like they're reaching to New York to find the cervix, that would mean that the cervix is still pointed backwards or posterior. As you get closer to labor and in response to those early contractions that you're having, the cervix moves forward or anterior. And so then they can reach and they can find it pretty easily. So that's one shift that can happen with those contractions that are happening in those final weeks of pregnancy. The second change is the cervix feels really firm, sort of like the tip of your nose. So when the provider is feeling, they're looking for ripening or softening of the cervix. So those early contractions help to influence that cervix to change from sort of like the tip of your nose to the skin of your cheek or your earlobe, where it has more flexibility and the tissues itself are much softer. These 2 changes are often forgotten about or simply not changes that clients are often aware of. So we ask them, if you're really interested in the total change of your cervix, ask your provider. If you're having vaginal exams, have I had any softening and what position is my cervix? And then from week to week, if you're having those weekly exams, you can compare that information to the previous weeks and actually see a bigger picture of how the cervix is changing in response to those contractions. One of the other influential factors that these contractions have on the body and the baby is that they help the baby to rotate. Babies don't just have one position in the uterus and stay there. They'll sort of spin on an axis this way and that way during pregnancy. As labor gets closer, they tend to find the position that works best for them. And so these early labor contractions allow them to achieve that rotation more easily in response to the influence of the uterus. The other factor that these contractions can also influence is the station of the baby's head, or how high or low that the baby's head is in relation to the pelvis. So sometimes those early contractions are really helping that baby get closer and closer and closer to the exit. So all is not lost if you're having these contractions and you're not seeing a change in dilation or effacement. You can also ask your provider, hey, what is the station of my baby this time? And a change in that station can tell you, okay, yeah, things are working. But you have to remember that babies don't just come down and stay down. Some will, but not all do. Some babies will drop down and then they'll decide, hey, I don't want to be here anymore, and they'll come back up and they'll reposition. So it's okay if you see a baby that might be, say, maybe a -1 or 0 station at one appointment, and at your next appointment, maybe the baby is -2, so they've moved up some. So all of that is normal, but it's also ways that those pre-labor contractions influence changes within your body and influences the baby's position to get ready for labor. So when we have a client who is facing these repeated bouts of contractions before it's the big day, we like to encourage 3 things: rest, relaxation, and distraction. So for rest, when somebody calls and says, I'm frustrated, these contractions are coming every night, I don't know what to do, we encourage them to rest. Take a nap during the day when you can. Eat a good meal at every mealtime opportunity. You never know when that's the last meal that you'll have before labor kicks off, and having some quality fuel in your body can definitely help during labor. So the last part of our recipe is distraction. And this one's one that's hard for a whole lot of people, even myself. Getting out of your head and getting out of your house and focusing on other things, because labor will let you know, hey, it's really go time. So when you're finding yourself frustrated with maybe these bouts of contractions, or if you're not sure this is it or not, distract yourself. Go for a walk through the zoo, maybe go to a movie, and don't go to the hottest movie that is out and that you really wanted to see, because the contractions can sort of take your mind off the movie, but also while you're there, it's also a distraction from the contractions. But if it has a complex plot line, or it's something you really want to know the outcome of, you might be a little bit disappointed that you're not able to stay for the whole movie if your labor kicks up into gear. But distraction is a great way of not focusing on what's happening. And I guarantee you that at some point, if this is labor, it will command your full attention. There is no distraction in the world that we can employ that will take your mind off of what is happening in your body when it is go time. One of our main goals as your doulas is to help you enjoy these final weeks of pregnancy as much as possible. For some people, a little bit of distraction here and there, implementing some coping techniques that help them feel in control can be really beneficial. And for others, it's just a time of great frustration. So we want you to know that we feel that, we hear that, and we have great ways that we can sort of help you explore what options are available to you in order to make this time as comfortable as possible. So if you're experiencing this type of labor, reach out to your doula. That's what she's there for. She has a host of tools, techniques, and tips to help you cope with this time. I hope you enjoyed this video, and as always, you can always reach out to me at www.tucsondoulas.com or by phone at 520-749-0329. Have a great day.